Assemblywoman Millman, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Assemblyman Kellner, for holding this hearing regarding the sale of public library buildings in New York City. In the notice of the public library hearing, 2 libraries in Brooklyn were mentioned, and both the Brooklyn Heights branch and the Pacific Street branch are in my district, the 52nd Assembly District in Brooklyn. Recently, the Brooklyn Public Library decided to reconsider the Pacific Street branch sale, but the library's future is still unclear, and I have major concerns with the proposal, including the precedent of selling of public buildings to private developers. BPL has stated that they have a $230 million capital construction budget need, and I don't disagree with that need. Specifically, the Brooklyn Heights branch and the Pacific Street branch each require about $1 million in repair. But instead of rehabilitating these branches, BPL and the City of New York have begun exploring the idea of selling these public buildings to developers in order to generate much-needed funds for BPL. These sales hinge on a non-legally binding memorandum of understanding between the city and the Brooklyn Public Library. The next mayor and a new city council could choose not to honor the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that stipulates that the sale and dollars from the land the buildings occupy would go to BPL. If that happens, then what is the plan to rehabilitate these heavily used public libraries? Each year, BPL submits a budget, and every year the mayor cuts library funding. And without hesitation, our colleagues in the City Council step up, demanding that no library cuts go into effect, and in the final budget, libraries are saved. But in reality, operating expenses are saved. But there are so few dollars for capital repairs, in Brooklyn, about $15 million a year. So BPL puts off capital construction projects. Recognizing the value of the land which the Brooklyn Heights branch and the Pacific Street branch occupy, BPL decided to consider another strategy. I believe that selling libraries and the land that they occupy is just bad public policy. Selling a library building is a one-time fix for a reoccurring capital need. Currently, Brooklyn Heights and Boerum Hill have 2 wonderful branches. The BPL proposal provides new libraries occupying space perhaps inside luxury housing. Brooklyn Heights and Boerum Hill do not need more luxury housing. Talk to me instead about perhaps subsidized senior housing. These neighborhoods and my constituents want and deserve well-run and properly maintained public library branches. This hearing presents the opportunity for all elected officials to work together towards addressing the future needs of public libraries throughout the boroughs. I am here today not just because this affects my constituents, but because I have a unique perspective. I'm the only member in Albany in either house to have a master's degree in library science, which I got from Pratt Institute. And I also served as a public school librarian for several years in the public school system and sat on this very committee for many years. I understand that we will not be able to fund every last library capital need every year, but I cannot accept the idea that selling off public libraries is the best option that we have available. So let's get to work to address the real needs of these public libraries by talking to the community members, the schools, the librarians, the Friends of Library groups, and everybody that uses the libraries to work in and come up with some better perspective and better plan. Let's come up with a plan on how to repair the libraries that are in dire need of rehabilitation so that they can continue to serve the public. The Park Slope branch in Brooklyn was closed for 3 years for rehabilitation, and they did it. They only had those people in the Park Slope area a bookmobile to serve their needs, but they knew at the end of the day they were and have been rewarded with a wonderful new interior space. And when a neighborhood knows that their library will still be there in 3 years, then the community members will be more than willing to cope with the library closure. I still don't know what a replacement library would look like in Brooklyn Heights or even where it might be temporarily relocated. I remain skeptical of this plan, and I will continue to fight to ensure that our libraries remain public institutions because the current proposal sounds like an effort to privatize our libraries. After all, BPL stands for Brooklyn Public Library, not Brooklyn Private Library.